America is and always has been a right-wing country. The famous quote from Gore Vidal, author Gore Vidal, who wrote a book about Lincoln being gay, which was awesome. He said that America has one political party and two right wings. And that is the truest statement that's ever been. But let me make a delineation between the two parties real quick. And ideologies, just real quick. Liberals suck. They're ineffectual. They have moved to the right so much that they're barely distinguishable from moderates or Republicans as we know them. So there's really no left. There's no history of the left in America. The leftist names that you should be familiar with, Emma Goldman, Eugene Debs, other leftist leaders, I'm leaving out because I'm not going to research and make a list of shit. I'm just going to do these off the top of my head because I think we depend entirely too much on Google, and I think we depend entirely too much on. If you want to fact check me, go ahead. That's great, but you're not listening anyway, and nobody cares. So, just screaming into the wind here. Conservatives have always sucked. Conservatives have always been terrible. Conservatives are for tax cuts for the wealthiest. They are for reduction in social services. They are for a large military and a oppressive police force and prison industrial complex. This is nothing new. And listening to neoconservatives like David Brooks or journos that of questionable character who during the Bush administration couldn't tell you enough how great George W. Bush was and how we had to go over there to Iraq and Afghanistan into two illegal wars, and we have to support war criminals like Dick Cheney, and we have to support Colin Powell, who's a liar, who went in front of the fucking Congress and the United Nations and lied about weapons of mass destruction. But that's okay, because we're going to cheerlead for these people. We're going to let neoconservatives lie to you like Bill Kristol, William Kristol, whose dad is Irving Kristol, look him up. We're going to let people like that, the Bush family, the CIA, the oil oligarchs, we're going to let them dictate foreign policy, and we're going to convince you through a use of religion. Like, we're going to virtue signal. Conservatives are the biggest virtue signalers of all time. Their biggest virtue signal, of course, is Christianity. Oh, you're religious, right? Well, then you have to read Leviticus and you have to hate homosexuals. And and abortion. I mean, there's not really much about abortion in the Bible, if anything. But again, we're against that because it's killing of babies. We don't have a problem with putting millions of people into jail and incarcerating them and then using their labor for free or virtually for free in virtually every state in the United States. Conservatives don't have a problem with that. In fact, they like it. And you can say that Kamala Harris did the same thing when she was prosecutor. She was a prosecuting attorney she was Attorney General of California. So she's a big piece of shit too. But I'm speaking just of conservatism. Conservatism is fucking gross. If you're a fucking conservative, you're a fucking moron. You're emotionally immature and you're intellectually dishonest. And you're greedy. And you're probably a Christo-fascist. Trying to get rid of the separation of church and state is fucking insane. Trying to turn America into the largest military that's ever existed, who has more nuclear weapons, enough nuclear weapons that it literally could end the world. You want a bunch of Christians? You want a bunch of Christian accelerationists to run that? You want to turn the country into a theocracy that people are compelled by an invisible father figure in the sky who holds them in judgment? In judgment of them? You want somebody that's that delusional to run your fucking reality in your country? Why would you want that? If somebody's a Christian, they should immediately be called out for the bullshit that their religion has caused and is. If you're a Christian, you're stupid. If you're any religion, if you're a Muslim, you're stupid. If you're a Jew, you're stupid. Your religion is not a good thing. It's like being covered in shit. You're going off a book that was written 2,500 years ago. We don't even use the science has completely changed. They didn't even know bacteria existed. They didn't have electricity. For fuck's sake. They couldn't. You people are, the conservatives in this country are bankrupt morally. They're not more moral than anybody else. In fact, I would bet that they're less moral because they tend to have less empathy for people. Did you ever notice that? Conservatives tend to be concerned because of, stuff and things and wealth. They're more concerned with that than actually taking care of their fellow citizens in the country. actually doing something that's positive and that could actually help people on a ground level. Conservatives are mean. They don't want to pay taxes. They find that a strong federal government is in the way of big business, and that's in the way of them making money. That's what conservatism is. Conservatism is ignorance, and it's ignorance proudly displayed, and it's cruelty proudly displayed. You can see this right now with this push that evangelical Christians and Elon Musk himself are doing about empathy. That empathy now is our problem. That you don't want to be too empathetic to these people because you might get sucked into their problems. And that's not the point of being a Christian, because we all know that Christianity is the whole point of Christianity is to bring other people to Christians. They ignore the stuff about, go visit prisoners in jail and feed the hungry and clothe the naked. They forget that stuff. But they all hyper focus on their own personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I fucking hate C.S. Lewis. I fucking hate that motherfucker so fucking much because these were smart men. When you read their books, they're really good writers. They're really good. They're good at prose. They're solid writers. But they engage in a propaganda campaign for their invisible father figure in the sky. They live in a white male patriarchy that they love. Christians love that shit. And if you're a Unitarian or you're some bullshit Christian, some bullshit version of a Christian that you're not really a Christian, but you go to church for the community part of it, I respect that. I respect it and I like it and good for you. If you belong to a church that does outreach programs, if you belong to a church that actually cares about the community, I respect that. I like that. Keep it up. But I don't respect conservatives. If you really wanted to help people, you'd be a progressive leftist. You'd be a communist. You would be for democratizing the workplace, democratizing the home, and having more pure democracy in America. Not this bullshit representative democracy that pits one millionaire against another millionaire. That's not ever going to be a good thing for the working classes or anybody really. So when you pretend that the GOP is somehow different now that MAGA's in charge, I got fucking news for you. The Heritage Foundation has been around for a long time, and they've had a lot of influence on conservative think and conservative books and conservative movies that get made, those shitty documentaries. This has always been the right. They're bad people. They're people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're people like Lorraine Boebert. They're people like Tom Cotton. These are some of the worst, vile, gross human beings. J.D. Vance. Have you seen those memes of J.D. Vance? You know why it's so easy to meme J.D. Vance? Because he's such a creep. He's such a little ass-kissing weirdo. It's what Walt said about him. J.D. Vance is fucking weird. He's a weird guy. What do they call him? J.D. Mascara? J.D. Maybelline, because of the way his eyes are. And he's a chubby little kid from Ohio who wrote a bullshit book about growing up in the holler when he didn't grow up in the holler. He's a fucking liar. And he basically attacked his culture. He didn't mention that they didn't have health care. He didn't mention that the jobs were gone. He didn't mention that everything had been outsourced, that they had been destroyed fiscally and voted conservative. So they never got money that they needed billions of dollars influxed into their community so they could build infrastructure, and they never got that. So you still have people living in homes with dirt floors. I have seen them myself all over the South. Selma, Alabama. I'm just pointing out, I know Selma's not Kentucky and Ohio, but it's the same. It's close. And there are people that are living in shacks with dirt floors. I fucking saw this in Hawaii. I saw this in Maui. I see it everywhere. I cannot believe that people would let other people live like that if they didn't have to. This is what conservatives are. Conservatives believe that you did everything, you made the mistakes yourself. Society had nothing to do with it. Capitalism had nothing to do with it. You fucked yourself over. You made bad decisions. So now it's politics of personal responsibility. Politics of personal responsibility is bullshit. It implies that your society, which is the most prevalent part of your reality, paying bills, having a job, healthcare, feeding your family, feeding yourself, being able to put gasoline in your car, being able to pay your electric bill. Somehow that shit is politics of personal responsibility when you, as the individual, have zero control over any of those things. You have zero control of what your power company is going to charge you. You have zero control. You go vote occasionally, you go vote every once in a while, or maybe you go to a fucking town hall meeting or whatever, but you essentially realize very quickly you have no power because nothing ever significantly changes. Because this is a conservative country. I don't care what city you live in, and I live in the most liberal city in America. By any metric, it's the most liberal city in America. And it is one of the most corrupt. It is one of the most fucking business-oriented. It is one of the, it is insane here. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Because what we're doing is we're stripping away all of the common sense stuff. We're stripping away we're trying to strip away the most popular program in the American government has ever come up with, Social Security. We're not trying to provide everybody with health care. We're trying to reduce people with their health care. We're trying to reduce their benefits. So you can do what? You can lie to us about balancing the budget when really you just want tax cuts? How about the regulation thing? For every one regulation, 10 need to go. Are you mad? Are you having a laugh? Because that is the stupidest shit, but that's conservatism. We're a country of 330 million people, and our population is growing, and we're cutting social services. We're trying to make the government smaller so it doesn't work for the people at all. Hey, MAGA, what do you think's going to come at the end of that? You're destroying everything that you think you like about this country. You're destroying it. You're killing it, and you're letting an Afrikaner do it. Having said that, conservatives always are like this. They're psychopaths. Tell me the Bush family doesn't give you the creeps. It was one of the reasons people like Trump. It's one of the reasons MAGA liked Trump, because he went after Jeb Bush. He ended Jeb Bush's fucking political career on stage, embarrassed him. That was one of the reasons that MAGA that's one of the reasons when they fell in love with Donald Trump, because he told it like it is, and he stood up to people who never had anybody stand up to them before, never called them out on their bullshit. But that rhetoric isn't good. It's a form of populism that isn't left-wing populism, which would be good for the people. It's a right-wing, Christo-fascist, and I don't think Donald Trump's any more religious than the next person, but he uses it as a tool, like the GOP has always done. They've always gone into the churches and gotten, since the late 60s, early 70s, they've gotten the evangelicals to convince themselves that they're all Republicans. They're all conservatives. And this is how they want the world to look. And then they use ideology. They use trans ideology against the woke ideology. They use critical race theory. They use Black Lives Matter. They use all of those buzzwords that we all are familiar with. That's conservatism. And then Democrats like Hoffman Jeffries are such cowards, and Charles Schumer are such cowards, that they tell their people, we need to stop talking about all the rhetoric we're talking about, and we need to move to the right, because we haven't moved to the right enough. We didn't have Bill Clinton completely outsource warehouse and manufacturing jobs, finish the job, and then move all the shit over to China, and then dismantle the welfare state. Welfare benefits are at record lows. They don't grow with even the price of inflation. But this is what you've been convinced by goddamn conservatives who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Most of them are so fucking dumb, but they all have something in common. They're all greedy. They all want a lot of shit. They all want to drive a big truck. They all want to have a house. The conservatives have always been horrible. Grover Norquist, famous line, Grover Norquist. I want to shrink down government so small that it can be drowned in a bathtub. That was during the Bush administration. These are not good people. They don't like you. They don't care if your environment is clean. They don't care if you have a living wage. They don't care if your water's clean. They don't give a shit about any of it. If they can privatize it and make a buck on it, fuck you. That's conservatism. If you wake up, there's nothing noble about conservatism. You just grew up in a patriarchal, bullshit, Western, settler, colonial, white supremacist nightmare that is America. That's why your country is where it is. It's always been this way. Sure, we've had progress, but the progress isn't ever going to come economically because of capitalism and because of the real people that run your fucking shit. It's easy. Social justice shit is easy. It's easy to get somebody to placate to you. It's easy to create a DEI plan and say, we just want more inclusion, which I agree with and I think is great. But it doesn't really fundamentally change anything. It doesn't. What it leads to is manipulation and an ability for the conservatives to get on the highest road possible and then morally go after people, the most vulnerable people in our society, transgender people, gay people, minorities, and poor people. That's what conservatives want. They are sharks swimming around looking for fucking food. Thank you for listening.